Good
Oh,
morning. Bonjour. Salut tout le monde. Thank you so much for being here, and good morning to my love, my soul sister from across the seas. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Pauley is here with us this morning.
woohoo! I got my party sweatshirt on for you, Gabs.
If I hadn't known, I probably would have worn tie-dye as well.
It's so 80s, and I'm literally, well, turning 50 last week. I'm
Get
so
out.
yeah, it's like I'm really seriously. I wore tie-dye the first time round, so I completely feel like I'm owning it. My teenage daughter's kind of going, Mom, seriously? Yes,
Do you know
loving the
what one of my fantasies is? Like one of my actual fantasies that I think
Can
about
we record this,
often.
Gab? Can we record this? Are you
It,
sure we
it,
can?
yeah, we can. It is recorded. I'm happy to put it out in the universe and have proof. One of my fantasies is to have access to your closet
Oh,
because you are, among so many other things that we'll dive into in not long, the most stylish person I have had the pleasure of building a friendship with.
get out
You are a stone cold fox, and everything you wear excites me.
of here. I'm honestly, well, thank you. And I find that very difficult to take. I do feel, I mean, I've worked in fashion. I worked in fashion as a personal stylist for a number of years with my own little business. When was that? Um, Maybe that was about 15 years ago, something like that.
Right.
And I worked in a boutique, and my mum was a seamstress. She made our clothes. My sister and I, we used to have matching dresses made by my, I mean, I look at it, think of it now and think, oh, how sweet then when I was like 12 years old, walking out in these A-line Holly Hobby dresses with matching with my sister. And, I'm sure we were not the coolest, but many, many, many memories of mum, sewing our dresses, me kind of chopping up t-shirts and playing and just I love fabrics, and I love the fact that you can express how you want to, or how you feel with the clothes. I remember that was really, important for me. I kind of felt really, certainly, at school, being in a uniform, then coming home and just kind of messing about and wearing dress up clothes, just love dress up clothes. And so that kept with me. And even now, babe, I've been a practicing Buddhist. I'm working with crystal sound. I'm working with different healing modalities, obviously with our precious oils. But still, I still find that I lean into, like today, I couldn't have worn my black sweatshirt,
Mm.
or I needed to have this heart opening and this energetic resonance, which is kind of really vibrant because I'm speaking with you,
Mm.
and it's almost like an external representation of what's going on in here. And there are days when I love wearing black, head
Mm.
to toe,
Yeah.
super cool, super. But yeah, a little tangent.
Best tangent, but you touched on something that so usually I
Yes.
do an intro to my guests because people are going to be watching this into the future, our client community, my business partners, builder community. However, I find it hard, not hard. I built an intro for you and then realized that it would maybe be best for you to tell us kind of the maybe the highlights reel that has brought you here, because as you've said, you have so many amazing experiences. You are a practicing Buddhist monk. Do we say monk? Do we say, what do we say?
Is a nun, is a nun.
Nun.
And
Okay.
I didn't actually, I chose not to become ordained, but I was
Okay.
involved in the Tibetan Mahayana Buddhist tradition for a long time, around about 16 years,
Yes.
um, and was on that cusp of becoming ordained, an ordained Sangha, so becoming a nun. So men are monks and females are nuns. Obviously, a Western Buddhist nun living in the West, not in Tibet. Um, but that didn't happen. It didn't happen. I think that choice was one of, and again, it brings me to this the moment where I am now of needing to to lead a middle way, the middle path, which indeed Buddhism is. Buddhism is the middle path. That's one of the things that, it isn't an extreme philosophy or religion. But for me, that choice to be celibate, to the thought of not having children, and this was when I was around 28, 29, 30, this was that age where I guess the hormones are kind of starting to jiggle about a bit and think, are we or are we not going to do this? And for me, it was the thought of a future without children was almost, that doesn't feel right for me. Not that I'm, a sex fiend. It wasn't the thing of celebrity, but at the same time, it's like I kind of, I'm a very physical person. I'm a very tactile person. So that was a real. And within that time, as a Buddhist practitioner, I was working in a graphic design agency. I was with a partner at the time, not my husband now, whom I met very quickly after coming out of the Buddhist tradition. So I was working in a graphic design agency, always interested in spirituality, always from a very early age, not in terms of the esotericness of it, but in terms of, I stepped into meditation as a teenager because I had panic attacks and I had recurring headaches. And I remember, Gab, I was like 14, and Mum just used to go to the doctor and used to get these meds for my headaches, and it would screw my stomach up. I would have real anxiety around it, and I just remember sitting on my floor, cross-legged, with a candle, and reading books about this thing called meditation to help me to calm down. And it bloody worked. It just worked, So that was and everyone was like, what are you doing? Well, that's that weird stuff you're doing. No one else was I was on my own, just kind of seeking my own path. So I've always been a bit of a seeker. I've always, vegetarian. When I was 14, I chose that route. I'm no longer vegetarian, I'm pescatarian, but there's always been a thread of seeking and connecting to something that is of deeper resource within me. I used to kind of question a lot and say, why are you doing that? Why are you smoking? Why are you doing those drugs? You just need to meditate, and I don't want to sound like, holier than thou, because I totally wasn't. But I remember always thinking, I don't really fit. I don't want to be doing that stuff. And even now, and certainly when the kids were little, the choices I made, it's like, I just don't want to choose to go down that mainstream route in all the ways. And at the same time, I wasn't going to, take my kids out and, grow my own produce and, live that type of lifestyle, which I look at and I think, I wish I'd kind of bought that little house on the prairie or in Wales, and done that, made that choice. But I've always found the middle way. And actually Doterra is part of that. Doterra is absolutely part of that middle way choice in so many ways.
You know what I love about this interview series? So just give you a little background, okay? This is my 5th. We're in the 5th month of the year. And I decided to do this project this year because I realized that the best way for my community and my leaders to have a really rich education was to learn from my other, female or non-cis, non-gender conforming leaders, people in the community that I find really inspiring. And every time I interview someone, so far I've had some really lovely, they've all been so magnificent, and all people who I consider close friends, soul sisters. But through these interviews, there are like these little pieces of the puzzle that come together. And what I love about what you just said is that one of the things that excites me most about your business, because I'm someone who is I'm very somatic, I'm very I really have a very strong physical experience of life, the way I experience it daily. And one of the things I find so inspiring about your Rise and Bloom business, so the way you've built your doTERRA business, is that it is a very visceral experience aesthetically, what you share about, the way you connect with your community. And I'm seeing some connections there between these different things you're seeking throughout your life, you know, working in graphic design, working in, as you said, as a stylist, you know, exploring Buddhism, like all of these things make so much sense to me in the way that I see you as a leader and the way I see you building your doTERRA business. And I just think it's so beautiful to kind of pull back the curtain sometime when it comes to leaders that I'm so inspired by. So thank you so much for being here. I want to dive into some oil questions.
Go for it.
I'd like to know, first of all, this is always interesting. What was your first essential oil experience? And in fact, it's kind of a two-part. Was your first experience with doTERRA oils? And if not, what was your first overall experience? And then what was your first doTERRA oils experience?
So I have a distinctive first experience with doTERRA oils. I have very little recollection of being impacted by essential oils before I met doTERRA oils. In fact, I was underwhelmed by them, if I'm honest, and I'm not doing, and I use other oils now in addition to doTERRA oils. I use Monara oils, which are Tiffany Carroll's oils, which are exquisite, really beautiful. So I'm not being a doTERRA elitist, but my experience, and being in the UK, we had Tisserand oils and Niels Yard oils, and before that, oils were kind of, you know, I used to think I was being healthy by buying products that said infused with essential oils, or we have pure essential oils added, you know. So I kind of thought, and I burnt essential oils in little burners when I was a student, but there's no real experiences that I can have embodied and that have really impacted me until I had my first experience of doTERRA oils, which, you know, fittingly was from Elena. It was from Elena. It was when she came to London in one of her trainings she was doing at yoga training. So I qualified as a yoga teacher 7-8 years ago, and one of the first trainings I went on was after qualifying was with Elena, and I was in it. I remember, sweetheart, I remember being in this room, and I was kind of looking around. I was thinking, oh God, I recognize a few of these amazing teachers. And I was thinking, oh God, they're really like proper yoga teachers. And I was there with the L plate on my back. You know, it's like learner, just qualified. Everybody can see, you know, all in my head and my body probably. But I was, you know, looking around, and Elena actually kind of said, you know, so there's so much experience in this room, you know, just how many years have you been teaching? And she actually kind of did that whole thing of who's been teaching over for 10 years, and a lot of women, you know, 20 years, yeah, like this. How about our newbies? 5 years, a few people. Who's just qualified? Like me. I don't think she said qualified. I think she said any, and I was like, oh God, you know, and I'm sure she didn't mean to make me feel, but it was like, you're all welcome. Of course, you're all welcome. You're all welcome. But I had such anxiety, Gab, you know, I had this, you know, just going back a little bit, when I had my children, I had postnatal depression. I had them very quickly, and just kind of dovetailing from the conversation of coming out of the Buddhist community, I met my husband, my now husband, very quickly, and we met. I left the Buddhist community, met my husband, and fell pregnant, and so I was almost kind of not an ex-Buddhist, but I didn't have that community anymore, and it was a choice I'd made for a number of reasons. But after the children were born, I had postnatal depression for a number of years, and it was obviously the similar anxiety that I had as a teenager, that I was having the medication for, that headache medication for. So that, there's this thing, and of course it comes up again. Of course it comes up again. And so as I'm teaching, as I go to yoga, yoga was a real embodiment experience for me. It brought my mind, my body, my soul, my disconnect that I'd had, it brought me back into alignment on so many levels. However, that sitting and meditating in a studio environment, it was almost like, here it comes again, here's the anxiety. It's like, okay. And I wasn't at peace with it. I was not at peace with my anxiety. It's like, get.
Sorry about that, lost connection. Yes, please continue.
So this whole, I was talking about anxiety, and I have this visual of, we were in meditation, and we were all sitting in this beautiful, serene posture. And I had these, speech bubbles in cartoons, where you just got, oh, Gal, I had like, what the, oh my God, who do you think you are? Why on earth are you here? It was like, it was noisy as hell in my head, very noisy. And Elena just came up to me, and she just tapped me on the wrist, and she just said, just roll this oil into your hands, roll it into your feet, take some deep breaths, and just allow yourself to calm. And part of me was thinking, oh, can she see this? Can she see the craziness coming out of my head or body? I haven't asked her if she did, and I rolled the oil on my hands, I rolled it on my feet, I took some beautiful deep breaths, and within, I don't know, date, but baby, I mean, like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, I felt this like, I just felt like I'd just come back in. It was a moment of real gathering in. And I remember being almost the observer and thinking, what's going on? What's going on? Just don't question, just allow your breath. And it was a moment of just go back to your breath. And I had this simultaneous observing what's just happened and allow it to happen, just allow. And there was a definite moment of coming back into myself. And that oil was in tune. That oil was in tune, the oil of focus. Didn't know it then. And it was afterwards, I said, okay, can I have 4 of these bottles that you just gave me, please? And that was it. And that was my first, and I think I started with the Home Essentials kit and a couple of those, in tune. And that was major for me. It was almost like, wow, these are essential oils like nothing ever I've experienced before, from an experience, but also from an aromatic experience. So that is a very long answer to your question.
Oh, it's a perfect answer. And I'm so fascinated that it was in tune, because I always, there's a few questions that come back quite often. And you're the first person who has told me that their initial oil experience was in tune. Quite often it's, excuse me, balance, peppermint, some of the more kind of maybe accessible oils.
So, sweetheart, I missed that. My internet is suddenly going a bit crazy.
Oh, that's okay. No, what I was going to say is that I find it so interesting that Elena made the choice to share in tune.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the initial experiences that I've been collecting and hearing about through these interviews are often balance or peppermint, or even the yoga collection, which I have been diving into more and more recently, and I'm just so in love with it. It's such an incredible collection. So I find that amazing. I guess what I'm curious about was, did you start as a client and then just naturally shift towards sharing, or did you already have some inkling that this is something you wanted to share with other people at the very beginning?
at the very beginning, I was totally a customer. Absolutely. It was literally like opening a box of jewels that I was like, oh my God, what is this? What is this? And it was so almost like not a secret. And I didn't want it to be a secret, but I was like, what is this? And I'm doing this because it was the 10 the home essentials kit. And I got a wooden box, which is like everybody needs a wooden box, quite frankly. It's an absolute essential. One day doTERRA will sell the 10 in the box, the wooden box. Because then I started to explore Zengest. So my stomach issues, I had IBS again from a very young age, and that's when I started to look at the top 10 oils with real, Zengest, and obviously with peppermint, but then frankincense started to come in and helping me with my gut with oregano, although that was a slow burner. Lavender, and it was literally step by step, but there was no inclination gap for me to share for a number of years. Actually, I would say probably two or so years, until I started to not be able to contain myself with them, and almost kind of think, has this done this? Has this helped? And so I naturally, in fact, maybe that's not so true. I probably shared them with my yoga community as a teacher very naturally, but I wouldn't have thought of that as sharing. And I was doing the typical thing of, yeah, I'll buy you an orange, a wild, yeah, I'll buy you a peppermint. Of course, I'll just take one for yourself. I'll take those little samples. I was naturally sharing. Yes, there we go. Naturally sharing very early, but with no inclination to step into this as a business. That's the truth. I remember thinking, where am I? Because I was giving away full bottles, and then I think I got those little sample bottles again very early on. But there was no inclination to do this as a business. It was very, very far away from my from my vision. And I guess then when I started to step into opening accounts up for people, because they wanted a lot more. They wanted, all of what I'd got. Okay, so you can have your own account. So I kind of sidestepped into being a wellness advocate, but it wasn't on going, I'm going to be a presidential diamond in 6 months. Move over, here I come. Wasn't that. It was like, what's a presidential diamond? Oh no, there's no vision. And that's probably where I learned a lot of my biggest lessons within doTERRA, because I just shared from the heart. I shared from the heart. I didn't have any real plan. I just shared from the heart. And conversely, it meant my front line was dreadful because I had no strategy. I was like, yeah, just leave you there. I'll leave you there. Oh, maybe I need to do something about this. I don't teach that now. Let's go for, strategy first. So I've learned a lot of mistakes. I've learned by my mistakes, and I really feel very empowered in supporting my leaders to not make those mistakes. But maybe it wasn't a mistake because I still have that deep-hearted desire to share through the pure love of the oils and through the pure wish to just get those oils into other people's hands.
First of all, thank you so much for sharing that story. It comes at such a fortuitous time for my builders, because what we are working on right now, what our conversations are centering around, is, the importance of sharing from the heart, which I know that is such a huge pillar for you and the way you run your business. I think as humans, we naturally share the things that light us up. You go to a restaurant, you fall in love with the restaurant and the food. The first thing you are doing is getting in touch with your family and your best friends and saying, we have to go to this place. The food is extraordinary. Shared experience is what makes us human. that desire to generously render ourselves vulnerable by saying, I love this and I want you to love it too, you know? And I think that that's such a natural state of being. When we fight against that, it's almost, you know, it's very odd, because I find in direct sales, this is one of the things I've been speaking about with my leaders lately, is this kind of taboo around direct sales and building multi-level marketing businesses. And it's so interesting. I, even as a leader, have had such a shift, realizing that my doTERRA business is actually my natural state of being. And when I remove myself from that kind of the kind of gremlin thoughts that come up around worthiness and who am I to do this, and you know, all of those different things, I realized that the desire to share these things that I love so much and that have brought so much joy and wellness into my life is actually my natural state. Yeah. And by not fighting that, I'm actually able to build the business without that reaching, without that kind of ickiness. So I love, you know, I love that you discuss that kind of natural development. And I even see it in my builders, you know, all of them have been sharing for months, some of them for years, just naturally. They've fallen in love with the oils. They make roller bottles. They make their, you know, Christmas birthday gifts are all made or you know, purchased from doTERRA. And it's just interesting to want to learn how to shift the narrative towards honor that natural state of sharing, you know, don't fight it.
Absolutely. And also I'd like to add there, honor your own involvement with your own path as well, because you know, what you may have been sharing 2 years ago may be very different to what you feel a natural propensity towards sharing now, because you are different. For me, it was all about anxiety, it was about belly upset, it was about, you know, really, and so those were the things, you know, I would like almost kind of, I would attract that, and I would hear it, people saying, oh, my stomach is, oh, hang on, can I just offer you this? And, you know, we would attract where we're at, and it's almost allowing our business to evolve and our selves to evolve in our relationship with the oils, so that they are partners in our journey, and therefore we meet and we illuminate the paths for others who are also on that journey but may not have actually had those experiences of beneficial experiences with the oils. So it's almost that, for me at the moment, baby, it's that evolution and emergence of my and our true selves through our business. You know, if I think of, I've asked this question many times, you know, is doTERRA an expression of my soul? Is doTERRA the business that is an expression of my heart? And on many levels it is. And also there is also a beautiful, for me, and this is my experience, it is a vehicle for that expression. You know, you are perfectly yourself and your vehicle is you, and you know, doTERRA is part of you and it weaves through you, but people come to you because it's you. And I know we say this, I know we say, but it's there's something that I want us all to almost really take in and take to heart, that we can truly make this doTERRA business so beautiful, such a beautiful part of what we want to contribute to the world. And therefore it will look different. It will look different to you, to me. And you know, I talk sometimes about the doTERRA in almost the terms of, you know, the yin and the yang. You know, we know this, maybe your customers and your builders are yoginis, or doesn't matter if they're not, but the whole kind of concept of this holistic nature that we are, this wholeness of who we are, this male and female energy, this ebb and flow, this, you know, warm and cold. And the oils, sometimes for me, the oils are almost the yin, and the business structure is the yang.
I love
and
that.
You know, we can't have one without the other. We can't have one without the other. And so if we didn't have the yang of the bottles, of the labels, of the back office, of the the incredibly complex back office system who managed to do all of the whizzy magic. That means press a button, the order goes to that person in that country, and has nothing to do with me, but I am the portal for that to happen. If we didn't have that, then the oils wouldn't have that access for people. We wouldn't have that. And equally, if the oils were not of the purest quality, and by that I mean not only the sourcing, but the relationship to the farmers and the communities, and the purity of intention from the founders of doTERRA, if that was out of whack, we'd know it. We wouldn't be involved with this business. Elena wouldn't be involved with this business.
Yeah.
Because there is something incredibly, and I know, last year the whole focus and convention was about purity, of course. But it's like we're not just talking about the purity of the oils, we're talking about the purity of intention behind the oils, that I truly believe to this day, 12 years on, the founders still have that pure intention for the business, even though it's a $20 billion whatever business, or a million, I don't know, a big financially abundant business. And I just feel that we are all, at 2021, we are all coming through this incredibly transformative times in our lives. And a lot of the ways that we view things and the languaging around it, even the MLM, even the direct sales, all of this, there is going to be a shift. And I feel that we are going to go through quite a lot of shedding of viewpoints, of assumptions, of ickiness, of, I don't really want to work. It's like, that doesn't belong to me anymore, because I don't feel that anymore. And maybe we need to find a new language. Maybe we need to come up with another language, or maybe it's just the fact that I still have an issue with network marketing. Maybe it's my story, but I just believe that this is all about connectivity. For me, this business is about conversation and connectivity. And one of my things is consciously creating connection in everything I do, from my work with sound and oils. And I think of, where that came from. And when I was pregnant with my first child, well, just before that, I studied shiatsu for a number of years. So I was a shiatsu practitioner, but then didn't practice so much, because I was 9 months pregnant doing my exams, and then I had my next child very quickly. But it's that, if I think of what I'm doing now with the oils, I'm working with them on acupressure points, on meridians, and that's like 20 years worth of, long time ago, when I was working in that. And connectivity and weaving these oils in for, what you are passionate about and what has always been important to you, bring that through your dance. For you, sweetheart, the way you embody, the way you connect with nature, your passion about life, your passion about the conversations you have with people, you bring fire and light in that same breath, and that's what you do with the oils. That's what you do with your graphics and your design, and that's what you do with your classes. And that's what every one of our builders can do, and that's what every one of our customers can do. Those people are people who I am a customer of this. I'm constantly inspired by what the oils invite us to experience within ourselves, and also the discernment of who we choose to be inspired by and what we choose to be inspired by.
So many things. You are so inspiring, Lisa, and you're so clear. You're so clear about your mission and the way you share and build, and the community. I could talk to you for probably about 6 hours, but I want to be mindful of time. I do have a few more questions, and they're all pertaining to things you brought up. The first thing that I'm very curious about is that you had mentioned kind of, the genesis, the anxiety, those kinds of things that you were that you were working on through the oils, through other work and whatnot. And I know that right now, something that is that you are very passionate about and that you've been really diving into over the past few years, but specifically the past year, is oils to support hormones, female hormonal changing, shifting, peri and menopause. So I'm really interested in knowing what that looks like for you in practice. Is that something that is part of a daily ritual? Is that something that you were drawn to because of your own physical experience? I'm really curious about that aspect of what the work you're doing with the oils right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so curious, darling, because I don't want people to kind of turn off now and think, oh, I'm not old enough. I'm not old enough. I'm not old enough to be listening to menopause talk. Honestly, I think if you're 30, you need to be certainly opening your eyes to the hormonal. You will already be experiencing hormonal shifts as a 13-year-old. We are always in this state of flux hormonally. And again, I think that my curiosity in terms of my body's experiences with anxiety and with the manifestation of that anxiety in terms of gut health issues. So interestingly, when it comes to the menopause or perimenopause, the doctors very conveniently say there are 46 symptoms that you will experience. It's like, okay, thanks for putting them all in that little box. But you go through them and it's like, it's interesting because they are physiological symptoms, and what I feel more often happens, and this is just through my experience and conversations with other women, is that often what happens is the concerns and the ailments that we've been working with throughout our life, even as a child, they will just be exacerbated at this time. Our hormones are everywhere. We have hormone receptors everywhere in our body. It isn't just our estrogen or progesterone. This is our endocrine system. This our adrenals. This is cortisol production. This is thyroid with our metabolism. This is thymus. This is governing our heat and cold. This is pituitary pineal. It's governing sleep. It's governing clarity, brain fog. So hormones. When we talk about hormones, it's a vast subject, and one that I feel is it's so crucial in terms of how we nourish ourselves on a daily basis from mid-30s, if not earlier. And it's the whole gamut, babe. It's the whole thing of our nervous system needs to be replenished throughout the day. We need to be drinking more water. We need to be hydrating ourselves much more than we are. We need to be supplementing our diet. We need to be eating nutritiously dense foods. We need to be moving our bodies, even if it's just 10 minutes. We need to be connecting more to nature. It's almost, we need to be resting. We need to take active rest more and not consider it being lazy. All of this is part of the conversations I have with women when they say to me, what oil can you recommend for my hormones? It's like they get all of that bit first because without all of that, the oils can't work. They can't do their work. If we're not resting, if we're not taking the nutrition, if we're not, our gut health is not being supported, then the oils are going to really struggle to work on those cells. And from my side, I'm working with sound healing. And again, it is like the full gamut of experience as a human being. For me, it's about calming our nervous system. It is about supporting us to feel deeply relaxed. And it's about replenishment of the cells, definitely, as the sound palpates the cells. And for me, the sound and the oils work in total synergy. Again, and the third kind of line here is, directing it specifically on energy lines in the body so that we are being very purposeful with where we're placing oils. The sound will just almost like, it travels through our bodies in the liquid in our bodies. And so as the oils and the molecules of the oils get into our bloodstream, the sound is traveling through our blood and the molecules of the oils. It's such a beautiful unison. And the sound and the oils both work on our cells. And ultimately, it is our cellular health that will impact our hormonal health. So I find this very curious, and I feel like a bit of a scatty professor at the moment, because it's like, give me more research. Da, 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 da. And there's very little research in terms of sound and menopause. I'm currently working on something called the energetics of menopause, which I really want to start getting quite, out there a bit, but I'm still holding it back for the moment. But to answer your question, the oils I'm working with right now are different to the oils I was working with 5 years ago. They're different to the oils I was working with 2 years ago. And it's almost, I can almost kind of say there's a morning ritual, there's a 10 o'clock, 11:30, post lunch, 3 o'clock. I mean, it's like this, isn't it, for everybody? And yes, for me, I've done a recent workshop on oils for hormones, and I focus specifically on vetiver, on geranium, on peppermint, and on claricalm. If you are going to look for 4 key oils, if you are at the stage where you are needing your nervous system to be more grounded, to be more stabilized, if you're looking for more rebalancing, for your night sweats and hot sweats to be calmed, if you're looking for emotional support, if you still have cramps, if you still have if you still have fatigue, those 4 oils will serve you beautifully. But then your thyroid might be a little bit out of whack, so we might put a little bit of lemongrass in there. Or it might be your sleep that needs a little bit more support, so maybe Serenity soft gels will be helpful, or copaiba. And maybe vetiver is just not your so let's go for more trees, let's go for balance. So the oils are so super intelligent, and they will work with what our body is requiring. And at the same time, we need to take responsibility for really thinking, but what do I feel I need? How do I feel? Not necessarily what do I need, but how do I feel? And it's actually developing that relationship with ourselves, so that we can say, do you know what? I just need to just do maybe a couple more hours of whatever I'm doing, and I'm just going to clock off for 20 minutes. I'm going to just park that. The kids are safe. They're fed. This is good. Yeah, I'm going to just shut myself down for 10, 20 minutes. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to specifically put vetiver on my feet. I'm going to put geranium on my heart. I'm going to put, a little bit of oil on my heart protectors and my heart meridian, because I just want to feel nourished. That's what I'm going to do today. And tomorrow it might be wild orange and peppermint. It might be motivate. But the key thing is checking in and having that deepening your relationship with yourself, so that you aren't kind of saying, oh, Lisa, what do I need for that? Gab, what do I need for that? Tell me what I need to do. You tell me what I need to do. It's like, yes, look in the books. Yes, empower yourself and educate yourself, because ultimately we know the answers. Our bodies know the answers, and our intelligence of our bodies will show us, and intuitively you will be told which oils to reach for. And even if you've got the 5 oils, 10 oils, that's like 10 trillion molecules waiting to support your body. Please don't think you've got to buy like 100 and odd oils. Work with those 10 oils, work with those whatever oils you've got, and allow them to serve you. But you are the one that is doing the almost the investigation first, so that you really can call the correct ones in.
My mind is blown right now.
I feel like I'm
inspiring. No, you are so inspiring. Your wisdom, Lisa, just like blows my mind. There's so many things that you said that I want to underline, but specifically one thing that I think is so important is, realizing that as women specifically, our body sovereignty starts at a very young age. And so often I think what happens is, because aging and hormones and our periods And all of these different beautiful things that are part of the female experience are kind of hidden or not spoken about, or are these like kind of secrets that we have to keep quiet. A lot of women have the experience of not knowing how to gold mine their bodies for information until very much later on, when they reach a certain age and realize, oh, like there's some shit that I really need help with here. And they don't even know where to start because the education is pushed back, is pushed back so far. Whereas if we teach our kids, our female kids and teenagers to, as you say, get really intuitive, get quiet, turn on the listening mind, and trust our intuition at a younger age, well, then those times of transition that will be hormonally a little bit more, you know, peaks and valleys, we will already have tools to navigate that and not find ourselves at a certain age, you know, sweating in the middle of the night, not knowing what's going on, grouchy at random times of day, and not knowing how to support ourselves. You know, I think that's so important and beautiful.
Absolutely, Sweets. And, you know, even I'm just thinking, even, you know, the weekend, everything was, you know, I was studying, I was on a practitioner course, doing some training and doing some assisting, and it was just really beautiful. And I was driving through London, and I was like, God, I was loving this. Look at this city, it's amazing. And I was really loving it, and really. And then there was an accident on the motorway, and I needed to divert, and I didn't know where I was. Sat nav wasn't working, and I pulled over and just stopped for a while, and just thought, oh, what's going on? Okay, right. Okay, might just need a little bit of moment. And I just opened my purse and I got out Adaptive, and I just had a little bit of a roll, and I had a moment. And I just felt that feeling of, you're okay, you can do this. I sent prayers to the people in the accident. That was really important. But I just sat, and it's like, you can do this, Lise. But I think what I would have done 20 years ago is panicked and kind of gone, and it's not rocket science, but it's just knowing yourself and being compassionate with yourself, to be soft with yourself, and to actually, and then in the night when that hot sweat comes, it's just like, oh, hello, okay, that's curious. Let's just see. So I'm just going to get a bit of geranium. I'm going to put it on my inner ankle. I'm just going to have a bit of my peppermint spritz, and maybe just go, you know, wash my hands and come back and be compassionate. Because I remember, and if I may just say, when I had my cycle, I had really painful cycles for many, many years. And I distinctly remember a time when I got back onto the whole meds for pain, for my period pain. And when I started to work with the oils, and I was working with, and Copaiba had just come in, and I was still using the medication for my belly, like, you know, 5 years ago. And I remember coming away from the pain medication that I was, and having a moment of acceptance for my body. And Copaiba, Deep Blue, Aroma Touch, Clary Calm, yeah, those were the oils, and frankincense, those were the oils I used. And I remember that feeling of complete allowance and acceptance of my breasts being tender, and my belly being swollen, and my legs being heavy, and the fact that I just needed to go to bed really, really early for 3 days, not take those pills and push myself through it and teach 3 yoga classes and turn up with all of my restorative yoga props to that place on 3 ibuprofen or whatever. You know, it's like, you will go through it, and breathe in and hide my belly, because I was a yoga teacher, vinyasa flow, and I needed to be a certain, oh my God, when I had a total acceptance of the gifts that my body and I used to say, Gab, you say, thank you, body, you are amazing. My breasts are swelling because there's a lot going on in my body. The heat from my belly, because of all of the blood circulating around there, was tremendous. And when you added deep blue onto it, sometimes it would be so intensely hot, and other times, this just fascinated me, the adaptogenic ability of the oils in all of our blends, and especially deep blue, it would cool and soothe my belly at the same time as warming up the back of my body where I needed more heat. I mean, nutty, crazy. One part of my body was wanting one thing. And but the significance in me telling you this is because part of our journey is acceptance, because we are told to numb out so much. We are given alcohol, we are given drugs, we are given sugar, we are given Netflix, we are given online shopping, we are given so many numbing out tools as kids, as teenagers, as girls. And that acceptance of ourselves and practicing loving kindness and practicing this incredible acceptance for who this incredible intelligent being is of our bodies, that has been a massive learning for me over the past 5 years, and one that I want my 25-year-olds to know about, my 30-year-olds to know. I want us all to love and cherish our bodies and not think we have to suck it in and bind our breasts even if they're swelling because we want to, I don't know, we just need to practice gentle loving kindness, and the oils give us that opportunity, and sisters like you and I give you that guidance and that loving nurturingness. But when we can give it to ourselves, that is jackpot. And as a 50-year-old, I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there.
Lisa, I am so in awe of you. I have gratitude radiating in every cell of my body right now for the time you have given us this morning. I have an entire list of questions we didn't even get to, and I wonder if maybe you would be willing to come back as a guest for a follow-up interview, because I adore you and I adore speaking with you, and I just know how much incredible wisdom my community will glean from being able to have access to your beautiful mind.
Thank you.
I think we should close it up here. I do have one question that I always ask all of my guests. This is a fun one. Stressed. It usually stresses people out. If you were on a deserted island and you were only allowed to have 3 doTERRA products, what would they be?
Absolutely instinctively, they would be jasmine, frankincense, and peppermint.
Oh, wow. That's an incredible trio. That's an incredible trio. Would you have them as 15 mLs or rollers?
I would have them as rollers, because I'm assuming it might be a bit hot on this island. I mustn't put any oils on my skin. I'm hoping that, by the time they run out, there's going to be a boat that's going to take me back. Yeah, I've got to have the wisdom from Frank and the trust of jasmine and the buoyancy of hope and heart with peppermint. And my digestion might go a bit squiffy, so got to get that on. And my skin, so got to get that on. And frankincense is everything. But yeah,
love
3. I thought you were going to give me 1.
No, that was 3. 3, and usually the argument I get from people is, does LLV count as 1 or 3? And I say it counts as 1.
Very good.
But that's a beautiful answer, and that's the first time I've heard jasmine. Frank and peppermint come up quite often, but jasmine, and since we have the new real jasmine essential oil, it is incredible. I can't wait to get my hands on a 5 ml of that incredible oil. For everyone who is watching this in the future, thank you so much. Merci for your presence. Continue using your oils. If you have any questions for myself or Lisa, just post them in the group. Lisa, is a close friend. We're in contact, so we can get any questions to her you may have. I will also post Lisa's Instagram so you can all follow her. She does incredible sound healing videos that you can put on your headphones and just
And I've got something this week on Friday evening and Sunday evening, which is afternoon for you guys. And it's my aroma sounds. I've got one on Friday and one on Sunday. So it's just a beautiful experience. And we're working with vetiver.
Oh, lovely. So I will post that information on the groups. Do we find that information on your Instagram, Lisa?
Yes, and I'll post something today because I'm doing something slightly different. So I'll give you some info to share. But I would absolutely, and I think we're 5 hours difference, aren't we? So it would be 2 in the afternoon. So either Sunday 2 in the afternoon or Friday 2 in the afternoon. So if you have a little bit of time on Friday or Sunday, and it's for 2 hours, and bring your vetiver and make a beautiful nest and your headphones and allow me to guide you through deep relaxation and nurturance and steadiness and stillness with vetiver and sounds. So that's happening this week if you want to join me.
That sounds absolutely delightful. So much love to you, Lisa. I just adore you so much. Thank you for your generosity and your time. And I will definitely be asking you to come back as a repeat guest.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.